Zapdos is the most consistent competitive Pokemon of all time. The majority of Pokemon from the first generation have been outclassed and forgotten over the years. With every new game, the power level gets higher and higher, and it's difficult for these first-gen Pokemon to keep up. But it seems like Zapdos is a Pokemon they really got right from the beginning. Zapdos has received some noteworthy buffs over the years to help it keep up with power creep. But Zapdos also just has inherently powerful traits that have stood the test of time. In Generation 9, Zapdos is back, and it is ranked in OU once again. Although it lost some of its most important utility options, this was not enough to keep Zapdos down. After multiple tier shifts so far in the post-home metagame, Zapdos has maintained a solid usage in OU. Let's take a look at why Zapdos is so consistently good, and why it's still seeing success to this day, despite the high power creep of Gen 9. But first, don't forget to like this video and subscribe to the channel, so that we can figure out whether the new past paradox form of Raikou, Great Neck, is a giraffe or some sort of sauropod. The sauropod community has a few things to say about this, and I'd like to establish contact with them to set things straight. Thank you. One very simple quality about Zapdos that has stood the test of time is its electric flying type combination. Flying is an ideal complementary type for electric for a very obvious reason. It provides an immunity to ground, which electric type is weak to. In the first 4 generations, Zapdos is the only Pokemon with this type combination. Zapdos is by far the best electric type in generations 1 to 3, thanks to this type combination and its high special attack and speed stats. Electric is a great stab type, as it will hit most targets in the game neutrally, and it's very easy to cover ground and grass types with hidden power ice in generations 2 and 3. Another benefit of flying types are their immunity to spikes. Spikes are a central strategy in Generation 2 and 3, and the ability to completely ignore spikes damage is extremely valuable. Generation 4 is where Zapdos first started to face some roadblocks. The addition of Stealth Rock to the game completely changed how competitive singles was played, and served to indirectly nerf all rock-weak Pokemon, including flying types. Zapdos also faced some competition for the first time, with the addition of a new electric type that was immune to ground, Rotom. Rotom replaced Zapdos as the new best electric type in Gen 4 OU, since it's neutral to rock and has an excellent electric ghost type combination. But Zapdos was still not outclassed completely. Zapdos gained a lot of new options which helped it keep up, such as Roost, Heat Wave, and U-Turn. Zapdos, with its high special attack stat, superior offensive move pool, and longevity thanks to Roost, remained a great choice in the format. Generation 5 was the first and only time that Zapdos fell from OU. Gen 5 is a uniquely high power level metagame that still has a lot of balance issues to this day. And the main reason for the fall of Zapdos was the introduction of a new electric flying type, Thundurus Therian, one of the scariest new additions to the game, who outclassed Zapdos as an offensive threat on rain teams. Zapdos did have some unique merit over Thundurus Therian, such as its access to Roost and Heat Wave. For these reasons, it can be a usable option on sand teams, but sand teams tend to prefer Rotom Wash as their electric type of choice. This is the one rough patch for Zapdos in its career. And even this wasn't so bad. Zapdos still had a viable niche in OU and distinct qualities to set it apart from the other electric types. And it didn't take long for Zapdos to return to OU status once again. Zapdos received 2 significant buffs in Gen 6 that would serve to define its new role in modern generations. The new ability Static, which grants a 30% chance to inflict paralysis on any Pokemon that makes contact with Zapdos. And the new and improved Defog, which from Generation 6 onwards was now a form of hazard removal. Unfortunately, Zapdos was not able to use Defog and Static on the same set in Gen 6, as Defog could only be learned in generations without hidden abilities at the time. But this changed in Gen 7, where Zapdos could have both of these useful qualities on the same set. These new tools allowed Zapdos to redefine itself as a defensive utility Pokemon. Investing in defense was now more worthwhile on Zapdos to punish any physical attackers that made contact. Zapdos, with its important resistance to common moves like U-Turn and Bullet Punch, made it dangerous for physical threats to use their attacks, as they risked that 30% paralysis chance every time. With Defog to remove hazards from the field, and a solid one-on-one matchup against many common Stealth Rock setters, thanks to that ground immunity, Zapdos excelled. Due to a high base special attack stat, Zapdos also didn't need much investment to pose a huge threat to common targets. Zapdos was used in a similar way in generations 6, 7, and 8. In Generation 8, Zapdos gained another new indirect buff to make it even more effective in this role, the new item Heavy Duty Boots. This item completely turned the metagame on its head, providing an immunity to hazards, which Zapdos obviously loves. Patching up that weakness to Stealth Rock made Zapdos even more proficient defensively than it already was. Now Gen 9 is here, and Zapdos was actually nerfed this time around, losing two of its most crucial utility options, Defog and Toxic. Defog is what kept Zapdos relevant going into Gen 6, so when I found out Zapdos would be losing this crucial option, I wasn't sure it would maintain OU status this time around. Toxic was also an important tool to cripple switch-ins and put enemy Pokemon on a clock, but Zapdos proved me wrong. After multiple tier shifts, people are still using Zapdos enough for it to be firmly ranked in OU. Why is that? Zapdos is one of the only electric types in all of OU, the other two being Rotom Wash and Sandy Shocks. In this world where electric types are scarce, Zapdos now shines once again thanks to its offensive advantages. Water types are very common in Gen 9, and Electric Stab not only threatens them greatly, but hits a lot of common Pokemon for big neutral damage. Stab Hurricane is an amazing complementary attack that can threaten many electric type switch-ins. Great Tusk is by far the most common ground type in the game, and since it's weak to flying, you can one-hit KO it with Hurricane. The other ground types in OU like Tinglu, Landorus Therian, and Garchomp also don't love coming in against a massive Stab Hurricane. Hitting grass types like Amoonguss super effectively is also fantastic, and no dragon type in this format is safe against Stab Hurricane either. Electric Flying is just a really great offensive stab combination in this metagame, and Zapdos has no trouble entering the field and beginning to apply offensive pressure. Zapdos can take huge advantage of the commonly seen Great Tusk, as it's completely immune to ground, resists fighting, and can even punish Rapid Spin or Knockoff thanks to static. Great Tusk does have Ice Spinner to hit Zapdos super effectively, but that won't KO. And it also makes contact, so there's still that risk of paralysis chance. Zapdos can also Roost, which removes its flying typing, allowing it to safely live another incoming Ice Spinner. The amount of Pokemon that can safely switch in against an offensive Zapdos is limited, and even if they do have one, U-turn or Volt Switch can be used to pivot out and keep your momentum up. Coverage moves like Heat Wave can also help against something like Iron Treads that may think it's safe against your electric flying stab combination. Despite lacking defog, Zapdos can still operate well with a defensive set in Gen 9 too, thanks to heavy duty boots, static, roost, pivoting moves, and a good typing for the metagame. Fellow electric flying type Thundurus Therian also returned to the game in Gen 9, but this time Zapdos is the superior choice. While Thundurus Therian has Grass Knot for Great Tusk, Hurricane threatens a much wider array of Pokemon. Static is a much more useful ability than Volt Absorb in Gen 9 that can punish a lot of common contact moves, and the longevity provided by Roost is something Thundurus Therian also lacks. Zapdos is an extremely simple Pokemon, an electric flying type with solid stats, and a good offensive and utility move pool. This simple idea is so fundamentally good that it has allowed Zapdos to be the most consistent competitive Pokemon in history. Zapdos has always been the premier example of a competitively viable electric type. The buffs it has received over the years have been modest and thematically appropriate, and it's interesting to see Zapdos in a pretty bare-bones state in Gen 9, still as successful as ever. The way Zapdos is used in Gen 9 is pretty similar to how it was used back in Gen 3 and 4. A simple and solid offensive electric type. What do you think of Zapdos in Gen 9 OU? Who's your favorite returning Pokemon from Gen 1 to use in Gen 9? And what would you like me to talk about next? Let me know down below in the comments. And thank you for watching. Thank you to the patrons. Become a patron to appear on this excellent end screen, alongside your favorite Pokemon.
The money got different, cause of what I'm spending. The money got different,
oh, it's
cause of what I'm
Megaton!
spending.
Oh,
The money
KO
got
by one
different,
hit! It's
cause
scattered
of what I'm
spike!
spending. The money got different.